welcome to your Freedom Hub's Accelerating Financial Freedom. I am your host, Jeff Cantor. We've got a great guest today. We're doing a continuing series, so you're thinking it'll be pretty excited when you see what we've got cooking here tonight. We are recording all these, and so you're going to want to make sure you catch every one of them by going to our video link. All the different links for the various channels from YouTube to Brighteon to BitChute, they're all at this one particular spot. So whatever your favorite track is, you'll love it. Got a great sponsor. What we've found to be bioactive product on the market. Special discounts if you go to the site, heavensendhemp.com. Enjoy. And today we're going to have with us maybe you are a doctor, Sam.
See, I probably should be.
That was a
with
very
47 years.
Wasn't that a great Freudian slip there? Dr. Sam
it really was.
Piccione, here he is today.
I like
Hold
it.
on a sec.
Okay.
Hold on one sec. This is where we're going to find everything. So if you're coming to the site that was shown there a moment ago, you'll end up here. And if you go into the Wealth tab, you're going to find all the stuff related to what Sam's up to. Nice little descriptive information at the top here, but as you kind of clue in down here, you can tab and get a free analysis. He'll talk a little bit about that yet tonight. And here's the list of the dates that we're running this series. And if you click on the link here, you'll be able to get over and see other versions of this show from before. And here's this one that's taking to you currently. And this was the one we did the other week, which is a really good one, kind of a opening and initial understanding of money and how it works. So I do appreciate you being here tonight, Sam, and I'm going to give you control of the screen.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, is everything, can you see that screen okay?
I can see. You got to hit the slideshow thing and off we go.
I'm going to, yeah. I'm going to just let me make sure I got the right slides. I think there's 20.
Oh, okay.
Just in case.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so obviously you know my background, and I've had 47 years, and I can't believe I have had that many years, but I have covered more incidences against middle America than ever before. And I finally found the solution. So it's taken me 47 years. Hopefully what we're doing will help people get started a lot sooner. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the problem, your reaction to the problem. It's extremely important that sometimes when you see something, you read it, but it's not until you do it that you understand it. And so you can identify a problem, but if you don't react to that problem, then you can't find a solution. So we call that attitude adjustment. And I have sometimes an Italian attitude, but in most cases in my business field, I am always looking for opportunities and knowledge of something new that I am unaware of. That's my MO. And when I met Jeff probably 5 years ago, whenever it was, we were both in a similar exploration, and he had started a health sharing plan. And beyond that, that's available today. And as we go on, the whole key to everything that Health, Wealth, Freedom does is we identify the problem, we look for your reaction, and we hope that we can give you a solution. So we do have a course, and it's a simple thing. It's step one. You complete a DNA worksheet. You set an appointment with myself. You get a review and an analysis and a Q&A and discussion period, usually 1 hour. And you make a decision or not make a decision to take the course. There's no obligation to buy anything, and we never ask for Social Security numbers. Let me just go back again. This is a really interesting challenge. It's an international financial employee benefit company and organization, and they did a study last year, and the percentage of workers reporting struggling with what topic are their workers struggling with, the number one answer was debt. Now, these people don't sell anything. This is actually a statistical survey. And retirement savings was second. Children's education, obviously, we have 4 kids, and we were concerned as they were growing up. Basic living expenses, and then medical expenses. So we basically cover in Debt Network Academy almost all of these subjects within a software program that you can actually test and use for just 90 days. You don't have to buy anything. So just to move on, but I found this real interesting, Jeff. Debt was the number one. Have you seen something like this, Jeff?
No, and as you can see, they're all like pretty basic things because right behind this
That's
would be
right.
just paying the electric bill and all that kind of good stuff.
Right.
And sadly,
And
I don't
that's the
see any.
living expenses.
I don't even see any room on this bar for like fun. Where's the fun column?
Well, you're right. And that's lifestyle. We, in the Debt Network Academy, we try to help people create a better lifestyle by getting control of their cash flow and expenses. And we have accomplished that. A lot of the clients that are on the program have literally, in fact, Ellen last week said she couldn't believe how much has happened positively for her in just over a year.
I couldn't believe how much stuff she reeled off that she'd paid off already. That was pretty impressive.
Wasn't it? Yeah, her
And I
SBA
was,
loans,
I
etc.
didn't know. I knew she saved some money because she told me she was going to potentially pop on, and she did. But then when she went through like twice as many things that I thought she was going to be able to accomplish, was like, yo.
Yes, it is. It is impressive. So, I actually created the 10 financial myths after 47 years. I've started this year. My goal is to be completed by December 1st, and I will have a top 10 financial myths and how you can use time, money, and math. Those are the three elements we use in the software. How much time do you need? One of my number one clients, talked to him, had lunch with him today. He couldn't make it tonight, but he said that he's got a wedding coming up and he wanted to save $15,000 and he was hoping it wouldn't change his dashboard, which was 6.2. He will be totally out of debt, et cetera, and start collecting Social Security. But the point I'm making is he entered into the software, which you can go in and you create a line item. I call it the what if, and I need 15 grand by September 2022. How much difference is it going to change in my years to be paid off all my debt? And how much do I have to put away? And bingo, he's only going to lose 6 months. So instead of 6.1 years, he'll be totally done in 6.6. And that includes saving $15,000 for this wedding of one of his family members. He said, you can never do that. I mean, my CPA couldn't do that for me. So it's pretty exciting. And that's why the course has the ongoing once a week mentoring that I do on really how to use it. And we heard Jane last week also how she owned it, but she really didn't know how to use it until we started to talk. So that's the exciting part of the course that we've designed. Okay, so tonight let's move on. We're going to talk about 2 of the top 10 financial myths. And in the e-guide that I'm designing, there will be a detail for each topic, what it is, how it works, and what you can do about it. So I picked the 2 of them because they're relative to each other. How many people really almost arm wrestle their checkbook? They get paid on the 1st, and then they start paying everything, all the bills. And that's what they call paycheck to paycheck. And then they get their next check on the 15th. So they wait 2 weeks and they have a few bucks and then they start using credit cards. This is the game that the credit card companies use, and especially the mortgage. And we're going to talk about that. So what about the mortgage due dates? Do you pay it on the 1st, the 10th, the 15th, the 25th? When do you get paid? It's interesting. Everybody gets paid differently. If you have spouses or partners or whatever the case may be, some get paid weekly. The insurance and the real estate industry and the mortgage, most of those people get paid monthly with commissions. And in some cases, okay, I just use Sam and Joni. Joni gets paid on the 2nd and the 4th Friday. And then I get my Social Security on the 2nd Wednesday. She gets it on the 4th Wednesday. And then I have part-time businesses, 1099. And it's, sometimes it's 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes it's 12 weeks. But basically, how do you plan for that using a checkbook? You can't. And the software that I'm using right now is just unbelievable how it tells me exactly when to pay something, how much to pay, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the top 10 lists, and we're going to focus on these two. But next week, I'm going to talk about saving choices, cash stocks versus home equity, IRAs, 401ks. We have an analysis in this free analysis that can analyze this for you. It's one of the most unique things I've done for a lot of people, and they just don't believe it. But then when they see their numbers, they go, I need to do this. So that's next week. Just as a recap, you can see here the key. This is the client last week that had 6 debts. And the key to this, how long does it take to be zero? You have no idea. How much do you pay? And the reason you don't have any idea is we call this factorial math. Okay, this is basically the statistical algorithms, whatever you want to call it. But if you go across to 6, there's 720 debts. My number one, when I say number one debt client out in California had 10 debts. And he was frustrated, and this is going back a few years. He owned 2 condos that he rented, plus his home, plus credit cards, plus 2 cars. And there's no way, look at this, I can't read the numbers, 3,628,800 choices before you know which one to pay, when to pay, and how much to pay to get to zero in the fastest way. He would have literally been paying all this till age 92. And we have him down to now like 71. And it's only 8 years from now. Just pretty exciting stuff. But no one thinks about this factorial math. And you're familiar a little bit with this, Jeff, right?
Oh, yeah. The one math they don't like to try to teach in school. You only learn about statistics and things like that. That come in handy.
Right.
That always come in handy at the cash register at Walmart.
Right. And the whole key to this is that the software is designed with algorithms that take these 720 different choices to zero in the fastest way possible. Okay, so back to due dates. What date do you pay? How much do you pay? Do you pay the minimum, or should you pay an extra 100 or an extra 400? You have no idea. In fact, that's the power of this, is it eliminates interest. Every paycheck you get, when you enter it into the system that you received it, the tech people set this whole thing up, and then once it's set up, I come in and show you the secrets to behind the scenes in the algorithms. It's really cool. So every week or every paycheck that you get, you're decreasing debt and interest every day. The road to faster and greater wealth. And it's not the return on your investments. This is not the same strategy that people say, well, you need to put more in your 401k. Meanwhile, you're sitting on all this debt, which analytically this software shows you. And actually, I shouldn't say the software, but the analysis, which is free, shows you. So how do you know what to do with all that if there's 720 choices? What date do you pay it? How much to pay? Minimum. You know, most people pay the minimum on their cards until they see where they are and get the next paycheck. So when is the real due date? This is really, I can't believe this, because I spent 5 years in the mortgage business, 2003 to 2008. We never talked about when should they pay it. We paid ours on the first, so everybody pays on the first. But that's not really true. Look at this. Mortgage due on the first, late on the 16th? No, it's not late until the 30th day. You have 30 days to literally pay it. Now, some banks, like our bank, charges $10 if we go past the 15th. Now, do they help you understand this when you close the mortgage? You know, we talked about last week that your amortization table is attached to the note. Did you ever look at it? No. Did they say, by the way, you really don't have to pay us on the 1st. You can pay us on the 15th. It depends when you receive your cash flow. Of course not. They don't talk about this. In fact, most of the mortgage people that I've worked with always say, make sure you pay it on the 1st. You know, a checkbook or a budget accounting system is not the same as this software. But for everybody on the phone, as well as who may be listening to this in the future, you need to look at this exactly for yourselves, because most people do pay mortgages on the first, and they're in fear. They create fear that, oh my God, I didn't pay my mortgage. My credit score is going to drop 60 points. And it doesn't drop. In fact, it won't drop till the second 30 days. And that's pretty scary that they force the fear into us, very similar to the health side that I've learned over the past few weeks about wearing a mask. And I'm not trying to argue that you shouldn't, but I'm saying the medical profession that we've listened to have proven that it basically doesn't do much. So similar to this, the analogy is paying it on the first doesn't do anything for you. It helps the bank. Okay? So even if your mortgage payments are technically due on the first, you can pay as late as the 15th without any penalty. No late fees, no credit report dings, no issues whatsoever. This is called the mortgage grace period. And people think when they get into a grace period that their credit score is going to drop. And so again, another industry that creates fear in our mind, and it's not the truth. So look at this is from a mortgage company that I went online and I checked their sort of like back office discussion, and it said, what if I pay my payment late? And it's interesting. It says some savvy consumers may even set up automatic payments to be sent mid-month instead of paying on the first to maximize their cash flow. And they don't even know about the software, Jeff, but that's exactly what the software does. It's an exciting test, if you will.
One thing
so the solution is, go ahead.
One thing to interject though, Sam, like you said, because one of the secrets of the software and the fallacy of most everybody, because I've learned similar to yourself, it's not about how much money you make. It's about that cash flow and how you use and divert or maximize the flow, leverage those dollars. Because if you're doing that well, that's like you actually feel like you're making more money, because that's where everybody falls short. So it's funny, like you said, that the bank inadvertently is tipping their hand to the reality of how the bank's making money, because it's all about cash flow. And that's what the bank's making you pay on the first, because it's about their cash flow, not yours.
Exactly. And so, when we go through people and I talk to, how many people do you and I talk to a week? It's amazing. But everybody has a different story, and everybody has a different DNA, both in health and in wealth. Everybody's different. So anyway, I really think this is something that really needs to get across to a lot of people. And then how do you manage that? And so that's the key to our course, is to show you how to manage the difference in due dates and all without affecting a negative credit report. In fact, we've helped people go from a 640 to a 740 in less than 3 months. And just by learning through the software and how to do it. So what if your money could talk, which is the name of our book, our financial e-guide. And this is just an example of what the software looks like, as we call the dashboard. And once you enter everything, it's unbelievable. It's reporting for you what you need to pay. And then it also has what you need to pay if you want to get out of debt. There's a transfer that's not showing in this screen. Now, there's videos that we have. I'm not going to put them on right now, but if we have a little time, there's a couple sections. But if you go to debtnetworkacademy.org and you write that down, you'll go right to the video media overview. This is the one that states, how does it work? The other first video is great because it talks about the industry, just like I'm talking about the first of the month and all the debts, how do you pay them off? But the real key is, how does it work? And it's so interesting that it talks about the 1st and the 10th and the 15th. So if you get a chance and you get to that, I think it'll be very interesting if you just go watch those videos. This particular video is like 15 minutes. Okay, so interest only versus amortization, or amortization versus hybrid loans. I don't know if anybody was approached from 2002 to 2010 with what they call hybrid loans. We marketed hybrid loans every day. between 7 states and 55 mortgage brokers that I had, and 2 processing centers in my office, we were really helping a lot of people. Most of our personal loans, after the teaching part, those that we were able to teach how to pick the best mortgage, how to use it, it was an interest-only hybrid loan. Interestingly, though, back in 2008 and 9, when the world fell apart and people were losing their homes and all, they blamed it on the banks who created, instead of amortized loans, they gave the freedom to pay interest only and hybrid. And I have to tell you, that is not correct. But Greenspan and Bernanke, they found a way to put the blame and the fear that the interest only loan is what caused the debacle of people losing their houses. And that's not the case. So let me just quickly show you this. The option arm program was so unique. Imagine having a choice every month to pay the amortized or the interest only or a minimum payment, depending on your cash flow. And this product used to give people 5 years to do interest only if they wanted to. Now, that would mean you didn't pay any principal back. Okay, but that's a controlled environment, meaning if you still have the job, you're going to make the amortized payment. But in a lot of cases, people didn't get paid. Let's say a realtor didn't get paid next month, so they paid the interest only. So we called this an option arm. There were 4 major banks that had this product, and the company I worked for, we were 70% of the sales in those products. And the Wells Fargo's and all those other ways, it was Wachovia back then, but they were denying interest-only loans, okay? So think about that. If you ran into trouble, you could just pay the interest instead of principal and interest. Now, do you do that the rest of your life? No, but it's automatic in the program. You're not late or anything. And I was helping people with $1 million loans, builders that I did personally. So the Fed Reserve Chairman on this subject, Ben Bernanke, and his colleagues raised short-term rates 0.25% for the 17th straight time. I don't know if you realize, but when you're in the mortgage and real estate business, every time you go to sell the house and the client says, I'm ready to take the mortgage, if you don't close in 30 days, the rate's going up. And the frenzy started to happen with us in 2006. And all of a sudden, every time the month came, I would get the quote is no longer 5.25. It was 5.5. Then it was 5.75. Then it was 6. And we couldn't keep up with the demand of getting the mortgage and the rates going up. 17 consecutive months. You cannot run a household with rising rates. That would mean if you went to the food store, every month there was an increase in buying potatoes and meat. Every month. And the longer you wait to buy it, it keeps going up. So when they had the closed door Fed meeting, as they call it, they bumped up the benchmark of the overnight lending, which is the Fed rate, to 5.25%. It was the highest level in more than 5 years back in 2006. I'm sorry, in 7 and 8. They do not trust you to make the proper payment. You see, so they raised the rates, and as a result, they canceled the hybrid interest-only rates programs. And then they blamed it on something that they caused. Now, if you knew rates were going up January 1st, okay, and it's interesting how this administration, if you recall over a year ago, he said there's no reason to raise rates. Why are they raising rates? Why can't we pick a benchmark and keep it there for a period of time, say 6 months? It gives everybody a chance to analyze where they're going, if they need a new home, if they need to refinance, if they're downsizing, if they're moving. But if you raise costs every month, You have to make a decision now. You can't wait. And that's really what caused the debacle. So I don't know if you agree or don't agree, but I was in the business and I watched it fall apart because of the increasing in the quarter of a point a month. And so when you're going pretty much from 4 to 6 so quickly, it's pretty unbelievable. So look at the interest only at 6.25. That's what it was. 180,000 at 6.25. The interest only is 11,250 for the year divided by 12. That's 937. But the amortized, okay, only $2,109 is going to principal. 11,000 is the interest. So what was the big fear that I didn't pay the principal this year? It was only $2,100. That's not going to break my mortgage. Now, if I did that for 10, 15 years, I would owe more. No, I wouldn't, because I kept paying the interest. So my principal's staying the same. But they're getting all this fear for $2,100. On the other hand, if I didn't need to send in $2,100 that year, I don't have to. So the freedom in order to make that choice, depending on your situation. Maybe you had a kid ready to go to college. You needed that extra $2,000 for that year until you got a student loan, or he got a student loan, or she did. This is the power of freedom and choice. And that's what's so cool about software, because you enter in, what if this happens, and it gives you the answer mathematically. And the answer is beyond your imagination. So anyway, this was really just designed to make you think more about your mortgage. When do you pay things? Let me just back up a little bit. One more. Okay. When are you actually paying your mortgage? I'll figure this out sooner or later. On the 1st, the 15th, the 20th. And how about your other amortized loans? You know, you need to look at the late charges. When is it that they charge you late? So if you have all different cash flow and you get your wife or your spouse or your partner, whatever you want to bring into the household, when do they get paid? And you know, the commission people I deal with are the real estate, the insurance, and the mortgage people that I talk to and get on the software. I only have a couple of them because they don't believe it. They don't even understand it. Okay. So Jeff, if we got any questions?
Okay. I was going to say, yeah, why don't you get to there? Because that's a good little list that you're showing right there is a good example of, the fallacy
Yes.
of not understanding cash flow. Because somehow
Yep.
you have to figure, now, wait a minute, I qualified for this loan, yet somehow 50% of these foreclosures are a result of hardship because of illness or other things that they didn't themselves think about, or
Right.
because also of them not understanding how to make sure you had money on hand to somehow pay this. It's like, well, at the end of the week, I know one of the examples, the couple's looking to buy some furniture and they need to take a little loan at the furniture store, where they give you a loan, and it's not a lot of money because they're only talking about a sofa and a couple other things. And it's 100 and whatever. And they look at each other and go, well, we can afford that. Yeah, but not
Yeah.
really. It's almost like taking a bunch of different medications and no one double checked that the one doesn't interact with the other medication that you're already
Right. And
taking.
you're in the hospital. Right.
Right.
Which,
And so
which is
that's,
like vaccines, just like vaccines.
yeah. And same like here is the same situation. I don't understand how my money comes and goes. So I think I have money because there's money in the checkbook and it seems like I have
Right.
money, but I don't know that that money's already promised, unbeknownst to me, to some auto
Right.
payment that's going to occur in 3 weeks that I'm forgetting about at the time I'm making this decision. And then what does that do until, like you said, to when is that person going to be out of debt? Especially if most people, and we talked about this before, and most people that hear this again or in for the first time kind of a thing, you may pay extra on your credit cards and this and that, whatever. but you never pay any extra on your auto loan or your mortgage because you don't even think that you really can. And even sort
Right.
of
It's
maybe
such
if
a
you,
big number.
yeah,
Yeah.
and if you sort of think, well, maybe I know that I sort of can, you don't think so because you're thinking, well, if I got any extra money, I better put that on the credit card, kind of a thing. So
Right.
if that means that if it's a 30-year mortgage, I guess you'll be paying it for 30 years. Sounds like to me.
That's right. And it's like Jane said or Ellen said, she didn't want to have a mortgage when she's 95. And and this is the power of understanding managing your cash flow. And you and I both know corporations do this. They look at their cash flow. When cash flow goes down, they start letting people go. And they run and manage businesses on cash flow. And yet the households are never taught that. They're blindsided. This is why I was so upset with this Greenspan and Bernanke when I actually did all the research. And had nothing to do with the hybrid loans.
And the sad thing about the hybrid loan, it really almost was like guardrails for people because really
That's right.
they still were driving like drunken sailors, but they just had a little more latitude to swerve left or right. And they were still just like now, instead of a paycheck away from disaster, they're 3 paychecks away because they're
Well,
still not, getting to the source of that issue that's causing them to be in this dilemma. And like you said too,
well,
it's easier,
uh,
one guy made the comment, says, every time I see like, oh, Sam walked into my office. Hey, something, Sam, you look like you need a credit card. You're the
yeah,
kind
right.
of guy that totally looks like he needs a boat loan to me. you know,
Yeah, you need a boat. Yeah,
you need
you
an
live
AT.
on Hilton Head. You need a boat.
Yeah, you need an ATV. Look at the golf course you live nearby. You need a loan
Right.
for that. So, because everything seemingly is so cheap, and
Right.
and no one's going to look out for your best interest. I know the finance guy worked at a car dealer, and people would come in that were blue collar, and they would run the math, and they could get like the top of the line vet. As opposed to something more realistic. But yeah, somehow it
Yes.
matched their paycheck, but
Hmm.
they couldn't afford to divert that much money a month away to a car, you know. But without something like this, they're never going to know that. They're going to live a
Well,
frivolous lifestyle too, in some ways.
right. But interestingly, the software was around in 2002. And so I realized, because, again, I didn't get it involved until actually purchasing and using it until September of 2017. We redid our wills. We set up our trusts. We did all that in September 17. And I was going like, if I had this software with an interest-only loan, it would tell me when to pay principal.
Yeah.
And that's really the thing that gets me upset personally, is that I could have used the software. I was approached on the software, and I was heavily in the mortgage business doing interest-only loans. If I realized that the software, I could input an interest-only loan, it would tell me when to make those principal payments to get to zero faster than the 30 years.
Right.
But you could pay it. If you look at a equity line, it's a 10-year interest-only loan. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why is that okay?
No, it's an interesting conundrum. Again, most people, it wouldn't
Yeah.
matter. And just like you said, it almost doesn't matter what kind of mortgage they think that they're getting. What's going to happen to them in the end is almost invariably the same. So
Yes.
it's pathetic to see. Let's take a peek here. We've reached a good switching spot here. So let me grab the screen
Yep.
here myself for a quick
All
minute.
righty.
Let me take us back here for a quick review that you're going to
All
want to
right.
come back to the mphealthwealthfreedom.com site. And at the
All right.
wealth tab, when you pop right over there, this is where you're going to want to come. You'll see we have it coming up next week on the 8th is the next episode.
Yeah.
And here's where you'll be able to kind of read up a little bit, be able to click and watch this particular episode. It'll take you back to the archive there on these. And then at the same time, you can register to come to the next ones if you're not automatically on the list to get those. And here's where you'll be able to click and find out. I'm sorry, went to the wrong spot here. Here we go.
That's all right.
There we go. Where we're going to click to
Yeah.
be able to get this analysis that we talked about. So this will be a nice, simple
Yeah.
way for you to get
If
connected.
they just
And again,
fill it out
it's
and
and
send it.
again, and just for me to give you a little plug in this regard, it's super
Yeah.
simple. It's just literally like a list of the bills you pay, no account numbers, no social securities. I don't even need your name. Nothing has to be on there really. It's just the math that is going to get analyzed to tell you with the power of the money that you're already making, like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, how much power you already have currently and didn't even know it, and then a way to
Yep.
apply that so that you're able to, let Sam do a little of his, Dr. Sam do a little of his wizardry there for you. And you'll see exactly when you think you can end up, because most people, the great question, and this is one that you will be able to answer, and I'll tell you this one because you don't think you mentioned this. Anyone I've ever talked to, and think of it for your own self, what day are you getting out of debt?
Yeah, right.
What day exactly is the day that you're totally out of debt? I mean, you told me all these different debts and stuff. What is that day? And no one ever knows. But with this analysis, you're going to know. I'm going to be out of debt on March 28th of 2025 or whatever the number is. It's a
Right
pretty
to the date.
amazing to the day. So it's going to be pretty amazing. So come take a look, see, and most definitely come back next week. And Sam, thanks so much for spending time with us today.
Oh, it was a pleasure, and I hope everyone listening at least picked up some tips. And if the phone number is right there, if anybody wants to reach out, I'm available anytime.